In 2023, a crack commando unit of retro podcasters joined forces on a panel at LA Comic-Con, but were sent to Comic-Con jail for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped. Today, still wanted by 80s nerds, they are very easy to find. If you have an 80s nostalgia problem, if no one else can help, maybe you can hire the Night Boys.
You can be a garbage pail kid. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Well, guys, it's been fun. It's been a good show. Thanks for having me.
How dare you? Welcome, everybody, to our inaugural premiere episode of 80s Kids Unite.
Woo!
The show that determines whether something holds up from our nostalgic 80s past or crashed and burned before it even got to the toy shelves or KB video game shelves or whatever shelves. That's the show. The show is going to be determining whether something holds up nostalgically, our thoughts on it, or whether it doesn't, whether it flips or flops. And it's a combination of $2 late fee, podcasting after dark, TV Obscura, and Territory Marks. Wow.
It's the whole network.
The whole network. It's me, Zach Schaefer, and my co-host, my brother from another mother, Dustin Rubin from $2 late fee, and then my other brother from another mother, sweet, sexy, sleazy C, Corey Stevenson, and my other brother from another mother, Diallo Jackson from TV Obscura, and occasionally Paul London from Territory Marks will be
who you're not
in.
Related to at all.
He's my brother as well.
No, you can't have that many brothers. We need something else, right?
We were brothers.
Yeah, it's just a lot of brothers.
How about kissing cousins? How about that?
That works.
How about it?
How about
kissing? Yeah.
How about twice removed step brother? I don't know. All I know is I'm excited, guys. I'm excited that it's us together, the Night Boys. The four of us and Paul London, we are the Night Boys as well. I'm so excited to have this premiere episode with all y'all. Corey, this all started way back when, a year ago, at Comic-Con. It actually was Dustin. I think, Dustin, you were the one that brought the idea to the table, right? You're like
a year
the
ago?
inception of this.
Yeah.
Well, a couple months ago.
Did I step into a time warp?
It was December, my guy.
Last calendar year, but yet only like 2 months ago for us.
Yeah, January did feel like a whole year. So
It did.
It did. It did. Thanks for backing me up, Diallo.
Yeah.
Dustin, would you say that this all started way back when we were doing the Comic-Con panel a couple months ago?
A couple years ago?
Yeah, so a couple years ago, we all got together last December 2023. What was that, 6 years ago? And we said,
right.
Comic-Con's coming up. Let's do some panels. We said Comic-Con's coming up. Let's all do a panel together. We all love each other. We don't always get a chance to record together. So we're all going to be in the same place live in LA. Let's get up on stage and let's talk about 80s nostalgia and see what happens, and we each came to the table with an idea, with something representing a different genre of the 80s, and kind of how we felt about it.
From toys to video games to movies and cartoons, which pretty much, I think that
TV
kind of
shows.
Yeah, the TV shows as well. I think that kind of sums up our friend group and all of our interests.
Yep, and if you'd like to hear the fruits of that labor endeavor, you can hear that on both the Podcasting After Dark feed and the $2 late fee feed. And you can kind of hear how it went down. And out of that one panel, we decided, let's do this. Let's do this again. Let's make this a thing.
Yeah, let's make it a thing, and let's add a little caveat to that thing and make it a personal thing for the fans, the listeners, right, Corey?
Yeah, that's right. So, like, if you're a Patreon member for either podcast, $2 late fee, or Podcasting After Dark, you can submit suggestions for us to cover on future episodes. And the game plan is that we're going to tackle one topic, per episode. But this is, this might be an evolution of sorts. So, we'll see how it goes. This is we're going to record 2 episodes back to back right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if this show evolves over time. But what I fully expect is all of us to probably really enjoy it, because we're all big fans of the 80s. We all grew up in the 80s. And we all have a lot to say about things from the 80s. And we all kind of still dip our toes and keep our toes still in the 80s on a daily basis. Jesus, if you could look at any of our...
I dip a lot more than my toes, if you hear me.
Me too.
Your balls.
If I knew this could be that kind of a party. Anyways.
I meant my fingers.
And I must say too, depending on whoever's topic we select for the episode, if one of us doesn't have familiarity with it, like tonight, for example, one of us doesn't really have familiarity with it, that's even better, because we can kind of discuss that whole kind of hullabaloo. Why did that not enter that person's zeitgeist in the consumption of pop culture back in the day?
Yeah, exactly. And so if we cover something that's like a singular sort of franchise, like tonight we're going to be covering the Garbage Pail Kids, we'll give like a little bit of a real tiny sort of background info on it. But then our next episode is going to be more of a potpourri, a grab bag, if you will. So the format's going to be interesting. We're gonna play with this over time, I think.
I like cornucopia.
I do too.
I like horn a plenty.
Horny plenty?
Well, fun fact. I used to make horn a plenties for Thanksgiving when I was a teacher, with the kids. And one of my kids goes, "I'm finished with my plenty horny."
From the mouths of babes.
And that was the last day you taught. Yeah.
And my principal just happened to be in there at that time. What are
observing
you
day.
But
of life.
Tonight we're talking about, you said, Corey, we're talking about, and you heard it from the beginning, the Garbage Pail Kids, which are pretty iconic. Right, Dustin? Would you say Garbage Pail Kids are iconic?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I don't know which one of you guys isn't familiar, but I have an idea, and I don't think we can be friends anymore, and that's okay. That's okay. But yes, Garbage Pail Kids, were kind of the big FU to the Cabbage Patch Kids, the hilarious FU, like, because the Cabbage Patch Kid craze was the craziest thing that happened in the world. Everyone wanted a Cabbage Patch Kid. They wanted it to smell the powdery butts of every doll, And I remember that craze. And then, the Garbage Pail Kids came around, and it was like, oh man, they're kind of making fun of it, like Mad Magazine style. And isn't this quaint? Isn't this fun? And then it just was like a race to, find your name, right? How are they gonna make fun of each and every one of us?
Well, before we get into in-depth discussion about our experience and nostalgia, let me do a little quick background on the Garbage Pail Kids, in case someone listening is not familiar. Garbage Pail Kids is a series of sticker trading cards produced by the Topps Company, originally released in 1985, and designed to parody Cabbage Patch Kids dolls, which were popular at the time. The series was the brainchild of cartoonist Art Spiegelman, then a consultant for Topps. Each sticker card featured a Garbage Pail Kid character having some comedic abnormality deformity, and or suffering a terrible fate/death with humorous wordplay character names such as Atom Bomb and Blasted Billy. 2 versions of each card were produced, with variations featuring the same artwork but different character name. That's pretty genius if you ask me.
Lazy.
Right.
15 original series. Dustin and I have 2 different opinions on that. 15 original series of regular trading cards were released in the United States, with various sets released in other countries. The commercial success of the trading cards led to the production of a live-action movie, The Garbage Pail Kids movie, in 1987, and an animated television series was also created in 1987, but its initial scheduled broadcast in the U.S. was postponed due to parental complaints. So that last line right there, parental complaints, that is one of the things that I remember so much. I mean, I loved Garbage Pail Kids. So we can figure out who was the one that is not the Garbage Pail Kids fan now. I love them. But one of the things, dude, I remember, guys, is all the news stories, all the fervor over these beautifully illustrated cards. That one was one of my favorites. The Venus Flytrap one was one of my favorites.
Yeah, so throughout this episode, by the way, and I have a whole stack of Garbage Pail Kids cards, and then I'll be going through and asking the gang, the Night Boys, some questions about these. But before I do, this episode, our inaugural episode of 80s Kids Unite, the topic has been selected from Magdalena Saucedo. She is a patron of $2 late fee. So Magdalena, thank you for suggesting this topic.
Yay, Magdalena!
Woo!
Magdalena has been a patron of $2 late fee for some time. We thank you. And in fact, guys, fun fact, which is something I don't like saying, makes me fun fact. It feels like there should be some top 40 imaging sound, like fun fact.
Fun facts.
But Magdalena was at our panel at LA Comic-Con. She was there.
Awesome.
She saw it live. So she's better than everybody else, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, and she's a patron, so yes, she is.
Yes.
Front of the line. Front of the line.
Yeah.
Magdalena, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And she's been a patron for quite some time, and we wanted to get her on Tales from the Video Store. And she's like, I just like listening to the show, supporting the show. We saw her at Comic-Con, and she gave us a whole list of topics to choose from. And we thought, this is a perfect one to kind of kick off 80s nostalgia, 80s Kids Unite, because it's so iconic. I was holding up Juicy Jessica, which is a Venus flytrap, holding with a Cabbage Patch in its mouth, by the way.
It always reminded me of the animated segment from come on, Zach, help me. Part 2.
Creep Show?
Yeah, Creep Show 2, the animated segment, which I loved.
Well done.
Yeah. These are disturbing. Dustin, you were saying earlier how like the Garbage Pail Kids, and you did too, Corey. It kind of hopped off of the Cabbage Patch craze, and that was insane. I don't think there's ever been a fever. Well, maybe, I don't know, game consoles could come a close second, but the fever behind Cabbage Patch Kids was so insane. I feel like this was like the natural response to like the idiocy of the people who were trying to buy those damn things.
And that's funny that you bring that up, because I do remember my sister had a Cabbage Patch Kid, and she's 6 years older than me, so she was probably about 12. I was probably about 6, and I cut all the hair off of it, and she remembers it to this day. She always brings it up. She will never let me forget that. I cut all the hair off of her Cabbage Patch Kid.
I mean, understandably so.
I know.
You got to get her another one.
I know, right?
That's the only way.
I also remember Pound Puppies being a bit of a craze as well, as far as like plushy sort of toys go.
Yeah, I remember those were a big deal. I don't know if I think those are more readily available at KB Toy Store than the Cabbage Patch Kid.
I don't think they ever hit the same pitch as Cabbage Patch Kid did.
No.
But Diallo, Diallo, what's your connection?
Hey,
with,
Diallo's here.
Diallo, what's your connection with Garbage Pail Kids, or do you have a connection with Garbage Pail Kids?
My connection is nothing. I don't have a connection to it at all. I think I was a little older, I think, when they hit, a little bit more mature, a little bit more refined in my tastes, perhaps.
Respect.
No. Actually, I'm just kidding. Because at the same time, I would have been collecting comic books and watching cartoons, so that's not it. But I do think I think I was like in high school, maybe. What year did they first come out?
They first came out in 1985.
Okay. Yeah. So
mine are 1986.
Yeah. So I was.
So Diallo was 39 at that point.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I was hitting middle age.
Definitely.
Right about
definitely
that
older.
Yeah. So that I was, but I do remember. Like I remember them. Like I remember them distinctly. I remember, if my friends might have gotten them, and I actually never really like. I don't know. There wasn't really much of an appeal for it for myself either. Like I looked at them and I was like, "Ooh, that's cool," but then I would just pick up my X-Men comic or whatever, and move on. So
yeah, I think these are go ahead, Corey.
I was gonna say, I was never a big trading card kid growing up. Although that being said, Diallo, you'll probably appreciate this. I did get those Marvel trading cards in the 90s. I do think I have
Jim
like
Lee did.
The ones he did and everything.
Yeah.
I loved them, but I was never a big trading card kid. And I think that I kind of feel like I would be probably like you, Diallo, if I was more of your age at that time. I don't think it would have appealed to me either. But because I think I was the right age when they hit, the fact that they were trading cards didn't sort of stop me from collecting them, but I think they would have later. But I guess my question also to Diallo is, were you ever a trading card kid growing up?
Not really. Like I had little stints here and there. Like you said, like I remember when Marvel came out with but actually I said Jim Lee, but I think it was like Ron Lim did a bunch of them, and then Jim Lee did the X-Men ones. I got those. I think I still have like unopened in a box, the Jim Lee ones,
Wow.
maybe. And then like I remember Star Wars came out with some in the early 90s. I know for a fact I still have those in a box. And some of my friends, like my cousins and stuff, would collect baseball cards. And I got into it just a little bit, but not really. So yeah, I've never really been like a trading card person. My old roommate in college he got big into it. I got him into comic books, and he started collecting trading cards also. So he has a ton of stuff. He might have more than me, and I put more time in, so it was crazy. But yeah, it's never, I don't know, there was like too much of a haphazard appeal for me. It causes me anxiety or something. So you're buying stuff and you don't know what you're gonna get, and I don't really like that. So.
I'm not a fan of I'm not a fan of the whole blind box thing. You open up, you see what you got.
Yeah.
That wasn't a rush for me either. I collected. I clearly still have a ton of Garbage Pail Kids, and I collected baseball, basketball, all that stuff. But I was not into collecting and opening up the pack and seeing what I got and mix and match with my friends.
Yeah.
I never was into that. Dustin, were you a card collector?
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys know, it's interesting because I'm not the biggest physical media person in today's day and age, but I had almost every Garbage Pail Kid, and I still have them. However, they're up somewhere in my loft. I couldn't find them. I'll find them, of course, as soon as we're done recording. But I came up empty. But the fact, I had a huge collection of Garbage Pail Kids, and in terms of the craze stuff, I feel like the closest thing in my memory that it would sort of compare to was people trying to get that, like a toy collection in McDonald's Happy Meals.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Right? You're just trying to collect that, get that extra glass or extra toy or whatever collector's item that's has some advertising tie-in. And, and the Garbage Pail Kids had like seasons, so you'd be like, okay, we're on to the next thing. And I don't know if I was particularly like, oh, I really need that one. So I think that kind of took the pressure off, because it was just like, you get what you get. You don't want to get the doubles, right? You're like, oh, I got this one again. But most of my friends were into it too, so there was a lot of like trading abilities.
Well, speaking of doubles, they are, die cut stickers essentially. They're sticker trading cards. So at least with the doubles, you could use them as stickers because I would never take them off unless I had, a backup one. And, I'm sure I traded with my friends back in the day, but I don't feel like I ever had like a complete set of them. I think I do actually still have some in my mom's basement along with those X-Men cards Diallo and I were talking about. And my stepfather's original set of 1977 Star Wars A New Hope trading cards from Topps. I have the whole set, which is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I look back and I remember I'm like, oh yeah, I loved Garbage Pail Kids, but I have never seen the movie. I had no desire as a kid to see the movie. In fact, I thought it looked grotesque and just I was like, I don't want to see this. Like, there's nothing like I feel like that didn't appeal to me the same way the cards didn't appeal to Diallo. Like, I was just like, no, this is not for me. Like, I don't want to see this. And then the fact that there was only like a handful of characters in the movie, I knew like my Apple Corey wasn't going to be in it. Like, like I knew that like you already saw which ones it was going to be. And I was like, well, none of these are my favorite. So why do I care? So, Diallo, did you ever see the movie?
I never saw the movie. I mean, I had the same reaction as you. I definitely didn't like the cards because they just looked kind of weird and it didn't really appeal to me. And I wasn't repulsed by them, but I wasn't drawn. Yeah, but I wasn't drawn to them. But yeah, the movie, I mean, the movie gave me like, I don't know. I couldn't have said this at the time because I don't know that I was like complex and thinking enough, but it felt like kind of like a money grab type affair.
Of course, yeah.
And so I think that but when I could tell that when I was a teenager, and if I can tell that as a teenager, then you've lost me because that I'm supposed to go to that stuff because they're trying to get my money out of me, right? And so I recognized it as like a cynical thing, and I just kind of was like, whatever. So.
It's almost like when they made the movie based on Battleship, the board game.
Yeah.
It's like why are you taking this like it's just why are you translating this,
That movie was terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Zach, did you see the movie in the theater when it came out?
Yeah, so I think they came out around a similar time, but Masters of the Universe came out the same year as Garbage Pail Kids, the movie. So it was for me, because I was such a big collector of both franchises, I was so excited to see both. I thoroughly enjoyed Masters of the Universe, and I thoroughly disappointed with Garbage Pail Kids. Based on what you guys were talking about, you and Diallo, the hardly any characters in the movie. They look disgusting. Ironically, or not, whatever. A year later, the Garbage Pail Kids cartoon came out, and I was like, this should have been what should have kicked off the whole thing to begin with. Not a live action movie with like Mackenzie Austin, by the way, who's I love Mackenzie Austin. He's great. And then the cartoon, which featured the voice of Tara Strong, legendary voice actor. That should have been what the movie was. Yeah, and I mean, like there was a Cabbage Patch Kid movie, but it was like a TV movie, I think, or a TV, like they did a Christmas special. It was a cartoon. That was terrible too. But I did see the movie, the Garbage Pail Kids movie. I will say though, the soundtrack is a pretty banging soundtrack for a trash film. If you go on YouTube, the whole soundtrack's out there. You can listen to it. There's some pretty good songs on that soundtrack.
Zach, has anyone like put it out on Blu-ray? I'm surprised because it's such a cult movie. I figured somebody would by now.
I'm surprised Shout Factory did. If it hasn't been released, it's got to be what you and Diallo and I are constantly talking about on TV Obscura. Clearly, licensing rights would be holding it up if that was the only reason.
And Dustin, did you see the movie at all?
I've seen the movie. Not in the theater. I mean, I've seen it since, but not the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's just, it's gross for the sake of being gross. There's not a great story. And, you know, you have all these, I mean, it's like got 1% on Metacritic, you know, it's just panned. It was panned universally because how can you conceptualize trading cards? I mean, in a way you have a clean slate, right? But to just be like, oh, it's just a bunch of gross kids that live together in a basement. And then Mackenzie Aston, you know, becomes friends with them and they're just absolutely disgusting for no reason. You know, there's only like two people in the, let me clarify that actually. There's only like one age demographic that's going to like really like that.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and it's like, you know, 5-year-olds who like gross out stuff, because it's not like, that's not really why you like the cards. You don't like the cards because you're like, the cards are fun because they're kind of mocking Cabbage Patch Kids, at least to me, right? Like that's sort of, and then it's fun, and you know, oh, they're making the name with my name on it. You know, I had Bustin' Dustin, who is this wrestler character that just was tied up into a knot with a bloody tooth or whatever. And cartoon-wise, that works. But as soon as you take that into make it live action with snot and disgusting things, and you know, it's gross. And a lot of people were very embarrassed. Like Jim Cummings, you know, the legendary voice actor with a nice rack, Jim Cummings, you know, who can voice like Winnie the Pooh and Darkwing Duck. You know, this was his first like live action movie, like he was voicing, and he's so embarrassed by it. Like, you know,
he's embarrassed by it.
Yeah. Like everybody that was like involved in it, the director never worked again. Like these are things that are, you know, you can't really understate how bad this movie was.
Well, now I have to go see the movie.
You're actually making me more interested.
Yeah, Diallo's interested.
It's like I get bored and then I'm like, oh wait, this movie's terrible. I gotta go see this.
If you like bad movies, you know, it's real bad, and you'll enjoy the badness of it. And it is like a musical. So you guys are talking about the you know, the music in it, but the Garbage Pail Kids like just sing songs.
Yeah, they're the ones who actually sing.
And they just break in a song about, you know, helping friends, and I know I like was pulled a bunch of the songs at random points for like our show and promoting it and stuff like that, but I don't remember any of the songs at all.
Well, I'm trying to remember too. There was like a moral message to the movie, which was funny because the cards were the whole reason behind the cards was there was no moral message at all to these, right? It was all about poking fun and goofing on stuff. And I just wanted to pull up, and by the way, I have the card you're talking about, the Bustin' Dustin.
Right.
But this one is Drew Blood. And the variation, you know, Corey called it genius, you called it lazy, just by slapping a different name on there. But some of these cards on the back of them, you could put the cards together to form a poster that you could, I guess, frame, right? And then some of the cards had like a bio card. For example, one I'm showing everybody is like this big kid with like a bunch of ice cream in his mouth. His name is Ray Decay, and he lives on 175 Hyperactive Road, Glucose, Maryland. Maryland. That's why it shows it.
Trying to get to Maryland.
All these characters had a permanent record. His permanent record was September 17th, 1982, fiddled with over 600 Oreo middles.
Good Lord.
February 25th, 1983, licked chocolate off 10 cases of chocolate-covered cherries. February 26th, 1983, ate the cherries. His favorite TV show.
Fiddled is the best verb. Really.
Fiddled rhymes with diddled.
Yeah.
Favorite TV show, Malamars of the Rich and Famous. Quote, gimme, gimme, gimme. His favorite food, candy-coated sugar.
I love
favorite
how we've
album.
turned Diallo onto the movie, but I think we're repulsing him more from the cards.
I'm just making a case. I'm just making a case for the Garbage Pail Kids and why that movie doesn't track with who they are. Because his favorite album, Tutti Frutti, favorite magazine, Cavity Illustrated, favorite movie, Goodbye, Mr. Chips. I'm done.
Well, it's funny because, I'd say that Cabbage Patch Kids now are completely irrelevant. No one cares. They don't exist anymore. But the Garbage Pail Kids, they've had a revival since 2014. They brought them back in 2014. Then in 2015, they brought back the 30th anniversary series. And then for the 35th anniversary series in 2020, they created a blockchain series, which I guess is kind of like
What's
Bitcoin.
a blockchain?
It's kind of like a Bitcoin type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the only people that are going to buy the blockchain 35th anniversary people are, morons and people into conspiracy theories.
Half the country?
Don't give them that much credit, Zach.
Oh, sorry. I mean, what? Never mind.
So I mean, guys, sort of to end it on this, like, wouldn't you say that the Garbage Pail Kids have outlasted the Cabbage Patch Kids?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I mean, to your point, like the Dustin card in the revival is Dustin from Stranger Things.
Really?
Like that's how back in the
cool.
public light we've gotten. Yeah.
That's so
Zach got
lame.
way too excited, but that's fine.
That's so lame.
You're like looking it up right now. You're like, how can I buy it? I need it right now.
But it still has the sort of the Cabbage Patch look, though, right? Like it's not like a one for one of Dustin, though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
and there's action figures now. There's Blind Box is talking about, opening up a pack of Garbage Pail Kids. There's Blind Box Garbage Pail Kids. You don't know who you're going to get in the box, little figurines or whatever. It's definitely got a resurgence. To your point, Corey, like the Cabbage Patch Kids that's nostalgia that hasn't yet come back. Would it come back? I don't know. What do you guys think? Diallo, do you think Cabbage Patch Kids could make a comeback? Sincerely. I mean that sincerely.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know. I would go off into this long, examination of human behavior, and we are not here for that. But the short answer is no. It's dead and buried, and no one's ever going to go back to it, ever.
Well, especially because kids don't play really with toys anymore.
No.
Yeah, there's not even really a space for, look at, the Barbie movie. Like, they could say a Cabbage Patch movie, but no one, I don't know. It didn't last long enough. It was kind of a flash in the pan. And, we have a lot of those things like the Stanley Cups and, all kinds of things that people get crazy over, and it burns really bright and then goes away and we completely forget about it. And I think that's what the Cabbage Patch is. But like you're saying, like the Garbage Pail Kids, that has an underground quality to it that's been keeping it alive for a while. So, yeah.
I'd like to see a video game version of Garbage Pail Kids come out. That would be cool, like a side scroller.
Yeah, like a beat 'em up type of thing.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Like that Jay and Silent Bob game we saw at Comic-Con.
Dude, that game was fire. I haven't played was it platform? Is that or side scroller?
I think that one's considered like a beat 'em up, like Streets of Rage.
Yeah, the artwork, the animation was just it was so good.
It was incredible.
Yeah, it was so good.
Do you guys remember the company that put that out by chance?
Same people that did Kung Fury, I believe.
So it was at the same booth that you got Kung Fury for B.
Brand new Jane Silent Bob game came out,
I think it's supposed to be coming out this year. I think we played probably a play test build.
Yeah,
but I think it's getting close to being ready.
Yeah, it was ball. I mean, when that comes out, I definitely gotta grab that one.
Day one purchase.
That would appeal to the Garbage Pail Kid crowd because the Garbage Pail Kid crowd is definitely a little more edgy. When you're looking at like cards, I'm gonna hold up one. I'm gonna hold up a card that says Empty Emmy. It's basically like she looks like she's hanging from a nail on a wall. And she's like a bag of flesh. And it's really disturbing looking, actually.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, these cards were dark, you know.
That's wild.
Shorn to Sean, where he's like shaving the flesh off his face.
Those are the ones that always freaked me out, is when they were cutting their own bodies or something, you know, and it was just kind of, I hated that shaving one, dude.
What? This is dark stuff. I mean, for the age group, look, 86, 85, you said these came out, or 84?
85.
I mean, I was 9 years old. I remember being on the play yard, training, you know, whatever, my doubles with kids on the basketball court, like Pokemon cards were in the 90s, you know, and like the kids were obsessed with certain cards, you know. The kid who had Atom Bomb, which I think is the #1 card, you know, if someone had that, you had it in a sleeve, you had it in a special case, so no one else could, you know, bend the edges or whatever. Like, these things were a hot commodity then, and it's nice to know that they're still around.
Yeah.
Hey.
What's the deal with Garbage Pail Kids? Come on.
To wrap up this episode, and thank you again, Magdalena, for suggesting this topic. If you want to suggest topics for 80s Kids Unite, go to patreon.com/$2 late fee or patreon.com/podcasting after dark, or both. It's up to you. And you can suggest a topic if you sign up. Magdalena, thank you for suggesting such a great discussion topic to talk about. Why don't we wrap this up, guys, with giving a nostalgic rating for Garbage Pail Kids out of, I don't know, 5, possible 5. I'm just going to pick a random Garbage Pail Kid card and see what name comes up, and we'll use that name for the rating. Okay, so out of 5, Las Vegas, which is a big, fat-looking
I remember that guy.
Elvis.
I remember that one.
Out of 5 Las Vegases, 5 fat Elvises, Dustin, what would you give Garbage Pail Kids on a nostalgic rating?
I would give Garbage Pail Kids 5 out of 5 Las Vegases for 80s nostalgia. They've sustained. They never really left. And they continue to evolve.
Nice.
plus.
Nice. Diallo, going into this with very minimal knowledge about the Garbage Pail Kids franchise, what would you give it on a scale of 1 to 5?
I actually don't feel fair. I don't think it's fair for me to vote because you know.
You have to
just
vote.
learned about them today.
Yeah.
It's a moral imperative.
I remember them and I don't have it never interests me, but I never had like a repulsion by it either. I just kept kind of doing my thing. So I'm a negative person, so I want to give it like 1 out of 5, but I don't want to do that because it doesn't seem fair.
So you abstain.
Yeah. Is there an electoral college with our voting?
Not in this democracy.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Corey, out of a possible 5 Las Vegases, what would you give?
Well, I'm going to give this 5 Apple Corys out of 5 because that card was my namesake. But no, everything Dustin said, I agree with. I think they've outlasted what they were parodying with the Cabbage Patch Kids. I think they can still be relevant. And I think they're still fun to look at. I think they're neat. And we are, of course, just talking about the cards themselves and not the horrific film. I give a 1 Les Claypool out of 5.
Les Claypool. Well, I will wrap mine up simply by saying I give it a 5 out of 5 based on the cards. I give the soundtrack from the movie. I would definitely give that a 2 or a 3, Las Vegas, because there's some bangers on there. But you know, I think it still holds up nostalgically, and clearly, I mean, there's a new generation that's tapping into these, and I'm just thankful that I have mine. Dustin, when you dig yours out of your crawl space or wherever they are,
we can trade.
Yeah, we can trade. Yeah. We can swap. All right, guys. Well, this is our first episode, first of many more to come. And Magdalena, again, thank you for suggesting the topic.
Magdalena wins all of your cards.
I tell you what, Magdalena, you know what I'm going to do?
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm going to send you some Garbage Pail Kids.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Take it back.
I'll simply finish up on my end by saying, we are a monthly show, 80s Kids Unite. So we'll check back in with you in March for a very special themed episode that will connect. Because you'll find out about that very soon.
Mystery.
If your teacher says you're bad and sends you to the principal, you can be a daddy's bad kid. If parents say you dress like you should be in a carnival, you can be a daddy's bad kid. It's international, radical, how anything unusual ends up like a daddy's bad kid.
80s Kids Unite is brought to you by Hungry Hungry Hippos, the loudest tabletop game in history. And by Nickelback, Zach's favorite band. If you'd like to suggest topics for this show, go to the Patreon of either $2 Late Fee or Podcasting After Dark, or both. All links are in the show notes. We love you.